Welcome back to the Your Golf Performance Podcast. Today we're joined with a great golfer. He's a 9-time winner on tour. He's played in all 4 major champions. I don't know how I jagged him, but I got lucky. Simon Dyson, thanks for joining the podcast.
Thanks for having me on. Pleasure to be here.
Mate, I always, you're a couple of years older than me, but I always remember watching you on TV and thinking, God, this guy's a hell of a player. Do you just want to share? We've got a younger audience, fair few coaches and whatnot that listen to this, but you just want to share a little bit about yourself and your journey and how you got to being on tour?
Yeah, no problem. So, I used to mess about in the backfield with my dad's clubs when I was young, but it wasn't really till I was about 10 that my brother came home from school one day and said that he wanted to join the golf club because all his mates were members of the golf club. So as they're walking out the door, my dad was like, "Do you want to come?" He was going to take my brother to the school field to see if he could hit it. So I joined them and we could both hit it. And, it was something my dad wanted us to get into. So he joined us both at the local club. I mean, we lived literally a mile away from the club. And that was it. The obsession began, 7 summer holidays, 7 days a week, 54 holes a day, every single day. My dad had dropped me off at 8, give me a fiver for my lunch, pick me up at 8. And that's how I really got into it, just by playing. And then obviously you progress and started having a few lessons and then thought, "Do you know what, I absolutely love this." So kept going. And then it wasn't really until I was probably 15, I started seeing Pete Cowan. I mean, a lot of you all know exactly who Pete Cowan is. So
Yeah.
started seeing him and that's when he started. Obviously, I understood a little bit more about what I needed to do. And then I stayed in the country, played all the amateur events, never won any. I mean, I won the Finnish Open, but never really won any of the big ones. But my big breakthrough was when I got to the semis of the English amateur. I was an unknown. And then all of a sudden, I'm in the semis of the English. And I got invited to go to Greece to represent England in the Greek amateur. And I finished second there behind a pretty good Swede called Henrik Stenson. And then I got an invite to go to Spain to play in another tournament in the Spanish amateur, and I finished third there. Then I got another invite to go somewhere else. I finished second there, and it was like a bit of a snowball. I took my chances when I got given them. I played Walker Cup, and then it was Pete who got. I missed my European Tour card in '99, and it was Pete who got me He got me a bit of sponsorship money and just said, "Right, you're going to Asia. You're off to Asian Q school." I was like, what? He was like, "No, I believe in you. I think you can do well." So I went out there. There was 9 of us went. First stage was really, really demanding. There was 200 guys and there was 30 guys got through, but they split it. So it was 100 on one course, 100 on another, and it was just top 15. So I got through there, got through second stage, and then finished second in final Q school. So I got a full Asian Tour card, and that was it. Just cracked on, won the Macau Open early, followed it up with the Volvo China Open, which was a big event the week after. So that was it.
So you went back to back in your first year?
Went back to back, and then I was top 3 in the order of merit come like October time. So that enabled me to go to final Q school in Europe. So I knew I already had a card, so I kind of went there and I was like, well, whatever happens, but I'm set because I'm really happy in Asia. Anyway, I got my European Tour card, went back to Asia, won the last event of the season in Hong Kong to win the Order of Merit, which then enabled me to have a Japanese Tour card. So I finished 1999 with nothing and finished 2000 with 3 tour cards.
3 tours, Jesus.
Which was a little bit of a whirlwind.
So what did you end up doing?
Well, because I live in the UK, I stuck with the Asian, with European, because that was, to me, it was a little bit of a step up from the Asia. As much as I absolutely loved Asia, loved everything about it, the places we went, the people on tour, it was just one big family and they made me feel so welcome. Obviously, Europe was a little bit of a step up and I wanted to test my game against that type of player. So I still went to Asia. I didn't play any Japanese events, which I wish I had now.
Yeah.
But I still went back to Asia because obviously getting a tour card in Europe, you only get a certain amount of events. So the joint sanctions events with Asia, I got in all those. So the guys who got the card didn't get in them. So I got in them because of my Asian Tour card. And that's where I made it really count. And then obviously I finished about 90th on the Order of Merit that year and then got a full playing card in Europe for 2002.
So how many events would you have played that year?
Oh, it was frightening. Frightening. I think I did like 34 events that year because when you're
Wow.
just
Wow.
starting out, you want to play, you have to play in
You got
every,
to take every
you've
opportunity you
got
can.
to take every opportunity. And yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure finished 2002 and was just absolutely knackered. But I did what I set out to do, which was to finish top 110 on the Order of Merit and keep my full play right so I could play in everything the following year.
Yeah. So obviously you've won 9 times, and throughout your career you would have had some like special moments. Do you like, obviously you just spoke a little bit there about winning a fair few times in your first year, but have you got like a significant victory or moment that just stands out above all?
I mean, there's two really. There's two. I think my first win on the European tour was huge. 2006, because 2005 I'd played okay, but I'm not going to say I didn't take it seriously. But there was a little bit of with the lads I was hanging out with. You know, we'd miss an event and we'd miss a cut and we'd go out on the Friday night wherever we were in the world, and I wasn't putting the practice in. Anyway, 2004-5 comes about, and Nick Doherty, who's one of my best mates, usher at my wedding, great lad. He has an unbelievable year. He wins Singapore Open, beats Thomas Bjorn and Colin Montgomery down the stretch, and then just goes on to have a fantastic year, won $1 million plus that year. And I'm thinking, how's he just done that? So I sat him down at the end of the year, just had a really good chat with him and said, like, what have you done? And he said, well, I've stopped drinking, I've stopped smoking, I've started going in the gym, I've started eating better, I'm practicing better, I'm practicing what I need to work at instead of what's already good. So literally it was the biggest kick up the arse I ever needed. And that as soon as that season had finished, I was like, right, I'm on it. I got myself super, super fit and started practicing what needed to be practiced. And then within 3 months, I won the Indonesian Open, which was a
Yeah,
European
right.
Tour event. But I was
Yeah.
just mentally and physically, I was so fit. And I think that's what happened. That's what helped me massively.
So just going back to the, you needed to work on what needed to be worked on. Did you have someone like a third party that you sat down with? Obviously, we're going back, what, 18? Did you say it was 2005? So 18
Yeah,
years
so
ago.
back end, yeah.
Obviously, the statisticians and all that are around now probably weren't around as much back then. Did you figure out yourself what you needed to work on, or did you have someone that you sat down and consulted with?
No, I just figured it out. I'm one of
Yeah.
these people. I'm not deluded. I don't kid myself. I know what I needed to work at. I knew my putting wasn't good enough. I knew my short game wasn't good enough. I was one of the best ball strikers on tour. I was very accurate, great driver of the ball. Iron play was really good, and I knew it was my short game and my putting that I needed to work at. So I worked
Yeah.
really hard, but it was more my fitness. And I'll say that because I'd finish a tournament on a Sunday afternoon and I'd probably drop two or three silly shots coming in on the back nine. And that was because I was
Yep.
fatigued. And
Yeah.
I'd
Right.
either make a bad swing because I'm tired or I'd make a bad mental error because I was mentally tired. So for me, the fitness was the biggest part of it, the biggest part. But also, like my putting, I started spending a lot more time on the putting green because I knew my ball striking and tee to green game was good enough. So worked
So
at that, and yeah, it
So
got
the
me the win.
the coach the coach is coming out of me now. So when you're saying you had to work on short game and whatnot, did you hire a different putting coach, or did you get some advice off whoever, or was it a lot more just like competitive practice sort of stuff? What was it, technical or competitive?
Bit of both, bit of both. Not so much technical because my stroke was my stroke, and I knew when it was on, it was good enough. It was just very inconsistent, but I didn't work at it. I didn't work hard enough at it. So I started left to right puts were my nemesis. So I started really working hard on my left to right puts, just hitting a lot of puts and then going hitting random puts. And again, this is where Pete was so good for me. I remember him saying to me, go and watch Christian Savar putt. He was number one putter on tour at the time. Go and watch him putt. So I went and watched him, only ever used one ball, never hit the same putt twice. And I was like, why is he doing that? Because I didn't know at the time. And he went, because he's getting himself ready for the golf course. You only get one chance on the golf course. There's me
Correct.
with
I
three or
love
four
that.
balls hitting the same putt to the same hole. learning from my mistakes where you don't get another chance. And from 2001, you would never see me with 3 balls on a putting green, just one, going hitting random putts.
I love hearing that because just this week gone, like I've always implemented that with my coaching and the kids that I sort of try to help develop. And I have a drill where I might put a tee at 15 feet and a tee on the opposite side at 21 or 30 feet or whatever. And they've only allowed to hit one ball from each tee and they got to walk to the other side and hit it because I want the putts to be different length, different reads, different like slopes, all that different, uphill, downhill. And the kids will often say, but it's easier for me to I'll have 4 or 5 balls on each tee, but they're only allowed to hit one and then they got to swap it. Alternate length lag putting is what we term it. And I say to them, when's the last time you had 15, like 3 15-footers in a row that all had the same break and the same,
Yeah,
uphill, downhill, that sort of stuff. And I'm all about variability in
yeah.
my practice. So that's refreshing to hear. So how many hours a week were you putting into the game? Two parts to this question. As a kid, and you sort of are giving away that perhaps you didn't put as much effort in when you were younger as you should have. And then once you spoke to Nick Doherty and went, right, I need to pull my head in. How many hours a week were you putting into your practice then?
I mean, as a kid, not so much practice. I just loved playing.
Playing.
So,
Yep.
I played a lot. And one of the best things I did was just play because Carl Morris, he's a sports psychologist, golf
Yes.
psychologist, works with some great players. He did a podcast and he was chatting to a guy and he said about playing. And he said, do you know what play stands for? And he was like, no. He says, positive learning about yourself. And I love that because that's exactly what it is. You learn so much about yourself. And I think because we've got such good driving ranges now and stuff like that, people forget the art of actually playing. They want to have the perfect swing and they want to be able to hit the perfect shot, but actually being able to play is where you earn your dough. So I'd say I played a lot, not so much practice. You wouldn't see me on a putting green or driving range before I turned pro. When I did, yeah, not that much, not that much. I remember my brother caddied for me in Johnny Walker in Thailand, and he said to my dad, he said, I look at everyone else and they behave like pros, and our side doesn't. And so that was a little bit of a kick up the arse as well.
Yeah.
So practice wise, again, I just wanted to play the golf courses. I loved being on the course.
I
So
love hearing that though.
I'd maybe do an hour on the range and then maybe 30 minutes on the putting green as
Yep.
part of my practice. The rest of the time I was on the course. But then fast forward it to 2006. I mean, it was get up in the morning, go in the gym for an hour, have some breakfast, get to the club, practice for about an hour, putt for an hour, go and play 9 holes, see how the course is reacting, come back, do a bit of short game, bit more putting, go back to my room, chill for a bit, go back in the gym for an hour.
Yeah.
So it changed massively. And you also, because I was training so hard, you want to put good nutrients in you as well. So I started seeing
Yep.
a sports nutritionist, and she was brilliant. She was Ronaldo's nutritionist when he was at Man United, and she
Yeah.
was
Wow.
phenomenal. She was phenomenal. And all of a sudden, like my energy levels were going good, and then I started with her, and then they just went like that, and it was nuts. Like I'd finished playing a tournament on a Sunday, and I'd think to myself, I could play another 18 here, no problem.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So this is something that I didn't think we'd go into in this chat, but what were you eating or snacking on while you were playing?
So she gave me these alkaline drops. So it was loads of water. So, but these alkaline drops boost the pH, so it matches your body, so it hydrates you better, stays in your system longer. So again, I didn't know that. 2 or 3 drops in 500 mils. Drink that. So you're hydrated. Snacks, it was like oats and just things slow energy release. Not like a Mars bar
Yeah.
where it's like up there and then down
Yeah.
there.
Spikes.
So slow
Yeah.
energy release stuff. But yeah, what else was I on? I was on like green powdered drinks first thing in the morning, last thing at night with my breakfast and my dinner. So it's giving me, again, even more hydration, loads of vitamins. Because when you're on the road, it's hard to get all the vegetables and nutrition that you need. So that's
Yeah.
what this
Correct.
green powder did. It's called Field of Greens.
Yeah.
Not that
Yeah.
nice,
Right.
but it made me feel really good. So it was one of those with my breakfast, one of those with my dinner, and just things like that. And it helped massively.
Yeah, I find it even when I've done a lot of my travel, it is so hard to stick to a routine. When you're at home, you can cook and do all that. And
Yeah.
did you ever find yourself as you got older getting more apartments or something like that, so you could actually cook good food rather than sort of grabbing a burger or a pizza?
I mean, when I was on the tour, not so much, not so much. It was mainly hotels. But every now and again, when we came down to us, we'd have a week off. We'd stay in a nice apartment, and then if we really enjoyed it, we ended up just staying there for the event as well. So
And we chatted off air. You said you love Australia, you love Sydney. You were talking about the lakes. Now, obviously, that side of town. Were you Coogee or Bondi? Where were you spending all your time?
could
Yeah,
you?
of course you were.
Yeah,
Like every other pom that comes here.
absolutely, absolutely. Google it. Where's good to go in Sydney? First up, could you? But yeah,
You would have been at the Coogee Bay Hotel,
that's the
no doubt.
one. That's the one.
There you go.
I
That
remember
was my
watching.
old
I
haunt back.
remember watching the Ashes there one year with the
Oh,
VB.
there you go.
VB.
VB.
Yeah.
VB gives everyone headaches, mate. It's no good for you.
Tell me about it.
All right. Now, one of the questions is obviously this podcast is for to help educate a lot of kids and parents about, you know, learning how to get the most out of their game and whatnot. Now, the pressures of playing professionally, playing for a living, playing for food, but also what was it like coming down the stretch? And everyone knows that we all get nervous, right? And even the guys on TV, they don't, they can hide it, but they're probably elevated heart rates, hands are shaking. How did you handle that sort of stuff down the stretch, winning a tournament?
I mean, when it first happened, it's very nerve wracking. Really is. I mean, I remember. So when I got my Asian tour card, I played because I'd finished in the top three of Q School. I got an invite into the Malaysian Open, and after 45 holes, I was leading, and it's my first event as a pro. So that was like, and I was so inexperienced of being in that situation. You had the likes of Padraig Harrington and Patrick Sholem playing, who I'd watched for years, and all of a sudden I look across and I see the leaderboard and it says S Dyson at the top, and I'm like, wow. Anyway, I ended up finishing like 30th in the end. But yeah, I think it comes with experience. The more you get yourself there, there's
Well, and
been
that's what I was going to say. So obviously you've had that, you had a lot of early success, but you would have had some failures before that you had to draw or learn from, right?
loads of failures, loads of failures.
Yeah.
But I never saw them as negatives, never, because I was like, look, it wasn't. I basically said to myself, it wasn't meant to be. But what do you think? I was like, what do you think you did that you could do better next time? And there was a couple of maybe shot choices, or I maybe got angry, and it then rolled on to the next hole. The fact that I've not done very well, so it's like, right, there's two. So then the next time I got there, it's like, right, remind yourself, you can't get like that because it cost you last time. So I always took them as
Yeah, right.
learning steps. And then, yeah, I mean, you fail all the time. We always fail as golfers. Fail is part of the process because you fail way more than you succeed. But it's how you adapt to that and how you accept it. A lot of people struggle with it, but a lot of people just go, well, next time I'll be different, and they learn from it, which
Yeah.
is super important in this game.
I can't wait for a few of the kids that I know that listen to this podcast to hear some of that, because a lot of them are going through that whole, I always say in most of these podcasts that social media's got a lot to answer for, because
Poor, not
they
much.
jump on Instagram and they just see this picture perfect swing and they're like, why can't I be like that? Or why can't I do that? And, and it makes them feel bad about it. Like, I've got 12, 13-year-olds in my program that think they should be at tour level already,
Mm, yeah,
and they forget about the progress. It's so good to hear someone say, you do fail. Like golf's one of the worst sports in the world to play. Like you literally, you look at someone like yourself, you would have played hundreds of tour events and you won 9 times,
yeah,
but
exactly.
yeah,
I think I played 470, something like that. 470.
yeah,
No, maybe
yeah,
more, including Asian tour, probably about
yeah.
490, 495, something like that.
Wow. So when you're on tour, what was a normal week like for you? How did you like to structure your week?
I mean, if I'd just had a week off, I'd go to the event on the Monday. But say if it was like back to back to back, and I was on like a 3-week run, I'd fly into wherever we were playing on the Tuesday. get to the golf course, have a bit of lunch. I'd have quite a lazy day on the Tuesday. Not lazy as in I'd go back to my room and watch movies, but I'd get to the golf course, go and have a bit of lunch, go in the physio van, do a 30-minute activation warm up, maybe a massage, and then I'd go on the practice ground. My coach would be there. I'd have a catch up with him, chat about the previous week, what I did well, what I could improve. And then we'd hit a few balls, I'd hit a few putts, and then I'd go and play 9 holes and get a feel for the course. How's it coming out the rough around the greens? How fast are the greens? What's the pace like? How much is the ball spinning? Are the greens reacting? Is the ball bouncing off the tee, or is it quite a soft course this week? How the bunkers? And just get a feel for the course and play 9 holes, mess about. Might take me 2 hours 40 to play 9, but I wasn't bothered. And
Yeah.
then if there was a part of the course where I was like, right, that feels really different, then I'd go and work at it when I got in after the 9 holes. So sand might be totally different. It might be thinner and it might come out a bit quicker. So right, let's go and get a feel for that because the bunkers are well placed. I'm not going to probably not be in a bunker all week. And then go and do that. And then I'd get back to my hotel. I'd go to my hotel, check in, and then I'd go and train for a good hour and a half, get a shower, meet the lads for dinner. So that'd be a Tuesday. Wednesday, I'd probably be in the Pro-Am.
Yeah.
So it'd be, again, quite a lazy morning, just a little loosening up on the range, short game, go and play. And then again, it's just try and get a feel for the course even more. So that'd be a Wednesday. Again, I'd probably do a little down training Wednesday night, maybe a little bit of stretching, nice hot sauna or something, and then just wait for that alarm call to go off on a Thursday morning.
You were saying off air that you were just buzzing and ready for Thursday. You just a competitor at heart? Is that what it is?
Yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
loved the feeling of waking up going, right, it's a new tournament. Let's see what happens. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I said to you, bored the hell out of me. I know I had to do it. You have to do it. You have to do your research on the course and how everything's playing. But I just couldn't wait to get going on a Thursday morning. Some tournaments I even pitched up Wednesday afternoon because it's like, right, I know the course that well. I'm just going to go Wednesday, do all my stuff at home, get there Wednesday, check in, wake up, right, it's go time.
I reckon a lot of that comes back to your childhood, just, wanting to play 54 holes a day, and you weren't a range rat or a putting green rat. You just, wanted to get out on the course and go and, try and beat the lads.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
genuinely think you're right there. I never even thought of it that way. But I bet you're right.
yeah. Can we talk about the lows of playing professional golf? Because, like I said before, I feel like social media is just painting this wrong picture about everyone in life, right? Everything's perfect.
Yeah.
Now you would have had stretches where you missed cuts and whatnot. What was that like, the toll on you, I guess, your mental health?
Oh, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, I was fortunate to have a really good run where I stayed on tour for a long time to be able to accumulate a fair bit of money. So it took the pressure off.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, the only one I remember I was married, family along, and just leaving them was hard. And I remember going on a run of like 5 missed cuts in a row, and I just couldn't seem to get that spark at all. It was like part of me wanted to be at home with my family,
Yeah.
but I just couldn't
So
get.
what year was that? What year was this?
So that must have been like 2011, 2012.
Yeah, okay.
So I was like in
Yep.
my prime. I'd say the golden patch for me would have been like between mid 2008 to 2012. So it
Yep.
was right in the middle of that as well. And the fact that I'd been playing so good and had really good results, I found it really hard to accept that all of a sudden, well, have I missed 4 cuts in a row? But the spark wasn't there. I don't know what it is. But I just kind of got to keep trusting in yourself. And it's funny how there was the French Open, and it's a tough course, Paris National. Really, really tough course. And it was the end of like a 5-6 week stint, and I'd not made a cut. And I was just like, oh, do you know what? It's the last place I want to go. I'm like, I really feel like I might just take a week off. And me and my wife had a chat, and she said, like, just go. You never know what'll happen. She went, why don't you go Tuesday night, have a really chilled day Wednesday, and then tee it up on Thursday. So I did, and instead of playing Wednesday, I walked it with my caddy. And I remember
Yep.
just thinking, right, there's a lot of shots here where I could get in a lot of trouble. So my game theory that week was basically just keep it in play. Just hit the shot I know I can hit at that time. And that is
Yeah.
all I did. Literally all I did. Right, just make sure you hit the fairway. What's the best chance you've got of hitting this fairway? Probably 2-iron. Hit 2-iron then. Just keep it in play. And I finished third. And I was
Yeah.
just
Right.
like, how the hell has that happened? But I just kept it so simple. And then when I look back at it, my 5 missed cuts were taking on stupid shots.
Did you go searching in that 5 weeks to try to like find the quick fix or not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. I think we all do that. And it wasn't
Yeah.
until I did well at the French Open that I realised how far off track I was from my original
Yeah.
plan.
Did you keep Pete Cowan throughout most of your career as your
27 years I was with Pete.
He came to Australia, I'm going to say 2008. I think I was just finishing my like PGA traineeship, and he came out as like a keynote speaker at like a coaching summit.
Mega.
And I remember just thinking, this guy is phenomenally good. He seemed like no bullshit, like just no nonsense, just
None.
like, right, you haven't done your drills, have you? You know,
Yeah.
he was talking about this thing. He may have said this to you. It was like ankle over knee, knee over hip, or something like that. It was basically to teach the younger kids how to get like a better rotation. And he must have done it to like a squad training or whatever it was over there. And then he come back a few months later and he just like he said, I just ripped them because I knew that they hadn't been doing their drills. And he just seemed like one of those guys. I think I heard a story as well. If a player sacks him, they're done. Is that right? Once you say no more, and
If you say no more, he says, right,
yeah,
I'll give you the option to come back if you ever need to, but you have to put me on a 1% retainer. If
yeah,
they then
right.
say no and they cut him off, then he doesn't take them back.
So 1% retainer while they're not getting lessons off him.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
And
If you're in
I
that
know
big of
there's a,
demand,
yeah, absolutely. And there's a few guys who've done it and then they've literally been begging him on the hands and knees to take him back and he hasn't taken
yeah.
them back. And he's like, no, I'll give you the option.
Yeah, I heard. I don't know who he was telling or whatever. He wouldn't name it, but he said he had a tour player basically crying to him saying, "I need you to take me back," and he went, "Oh, you made the choice." you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I like it. I like it because the reason that I like it is because he is not giving them crap information. It's golf,
No.
right? Things are going
Yeah.
to vary and whatnot, and the last thing you need to be do is blaming others. You just say, right, well, I've this will come back around eventually, right? So
Oh, he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal, is Pete. He was like, besides my dad, he's the closest father figure I had. And he was,
yeah,
he took me from this 15-year-old naive lad. And I remember my
yeah,
dad ringing him up and saying to Pete, look, it's not cheap to keep putting him in these events, blah, blah, blah. And he said my dad said to Pete, I want you to be perfectly honest with me, Pete. Am I wasting my money? And Pete
yeah.
turned around to my dad and went, John, there's nothing certain in life, but if I was to say anything, it would be that your son will be on tour. So
Wow.
my dad went, right, that's good enough for me. And he never, until I got on tour, he never charged me a penny. And I could see him whenever I wanted. He didn't charge me a penny because he's like, you'll be on tour. And when you do, that's when you pay me. But until then,
And that,
I know you can't afford it, so you don't have to pay me a thing.
and you know what I like as well? He seems to back himself because
Yeah.
from what I could gather, it was like, we don't have to go into the numbers, but like he would pay his own expenses to go to events and whatnot. But and you guys would only have to pay him a percentage if you top 10. Is that correct?
No. I mean, it was just a percentage throughout. So you made the cut.
Okay.
It was a
Yeah.
percentage throughout. But yeah, unless he was going specifically with, say, Brooks or
Yeah.
Stenson or something like that, and they were going on a private jet, he'd pay his own way. He always paid his own way.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Oh, I love it. So look, mate, you've turned your hand to coaching, right? I think whoever gets help off you is going to, they're going to be in good hands because they're going to learn a lot of valuable info, not just, hey, this is how you need to swing it. It's more about, hey, look at that lie. We spoke off air about the Ryder Cup and
Yeah.
certain lies and whatnot and being able to assess it. But if you had like a 15-year-old Simon Dyson comes to you and says, I want to play on tour. What are you going to recommend that they do? We don't have to get into technique stuff. It's more about
No,
what systems would you put in place for them?
I mean, technique, I don't really touch technique because you see so many different swings. You see a lot of coaches who have a model and they
Yeah.
ram that model down the player's throat. Whereas I would look at a player, they come in, first of all, I watch them swing and I think, right, he does that really well. And I tell them everything that they do really well. But then I basically get a player in, we go in the gym. So I'm TPI qualified. So we look at how they move, first of all, fitness levels, then we go on the range, how they swing it. I'm just looking at ball flight. I'm literally looking at ball flight, strike, things like that. Short game, get them on there, almost give them like a little bit of an MOT, or get them on the putting green, and then we go on the course and see what decisions they make, and then I make them a bit of a plan from there.
Yeah.
So it might be, right, short game's unbelievable. You know, you do this really well. Putting is class, but your long game, you do this, you fly it too high, it's too shallow, so you're going to catch a lot of shots fat. On the course, you know, you just literally reach for the driver all the time. So that's going to get you in trouble. You need to think about this part of the game, widest part of the fairway. So play a bit more percentage golf when you need to, shot selection into greens, things like that. But I love it. I absolutely love it
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's certain aspects where they'll let a shot and I'll go, you know, that shot you played there? Yeah. Why did you play that? And they'll go, they might say, oh, because, you know, and it suits my eye. Right. But that's a 3 in 10 shot. You could only make that shot 3 times out of 10. And if that's on the 17th hole of a tournament that you're leading, are you going to play that shot? Or the
And are
go,
you going to do it 3 times out of 10? If it's like, it's probably
yeah,
even a less percentage, right, under
less,
pressure.
100%.
Yeah.
So then I'll say, right, try it in this shot. Like the prime example was this kid came to me from America and he's hit this shot and it's a left pin and it's out the rough and he's tried to like feather a little 8 iron in there and it's come out and he's missed the green left. It's obviously he's tried to
Yeah.
just hold it up, heels caught, and I'm saying to him, that is a really difficult shot to play. Yeah, but you know, that's the shot I like to see. I said, right, do me a favour, in the middle of the green, just turn the toe in on a 9 iron. I went, it's going to go with the grass better. It's going to come out like an 8 iron. I went, I want you to just draw one into that pin. And he hit to like 2 foot. And I was,
Yeah.
it's moments like that where you go, yeah, I think I feel like I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then it's like a spark moment for them, and they go, that felt so much easier. And I'm like, and it's a higher percentage shot make as well.
Yep.
So
Have you looked into any of Scott Fawcett's stuff?
no, is it
You
good?
know of him though?
Yeah, name rings a bell.
Decade?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Decade.
It's funny
Yeah.
because a lot of my players use decade, and when I'm
Yeah.
explaining a shot I would hit, they all refer back to it and go, "Sounds like you're just talking about decade." And I'm like, it's actually quite interesting because the people who've told me about decade, I'm like, well, I used to do that, but I never
Yeah.
had the numbers to go from. It was just my instinct to automatically do it.
Well, he reckons that he's gone back through, thousands and thousands of Tiger's shots,
Yeah.
and he said like Tiger was not aiming at flag sticks like
No.
people thought he was. He was
No.
just playing the smart golf and just, his whole thing is bogey avoidance. You know what I mean? It's just like
Absolutely.
just keep the high numbers off the card, get it on the green. I'm getting Scott on in the next month, but
Mega.
it's more or less, just if you just keep giving yourself birdie putts, eventually you're going to hole a few, and you might have a 66 or a 68 versus leaving yourself in crap spots
Yeah.
and having a 76 or a 78.
Yeah.
I had a kid that I bought the program a few months ago, and one of the juniors that that I coach is going to turn out really good. I gave him the login and asked him to start watching all the videos. And on the weekend, he just won the club championships at my club. And one of the playing partners, one of the adults, he's only 13, one of the adults come up to me and said, this kid, if he misses a green, he has had the easiest chip shots all day
Yeah.
because he just kept missing in the right spots,
Yeah.
and I think I don't know the amount of bad players I see that, like you'll say as well, they got a left flag and they're aiming at the flag. They got a draw pattern, and next minute they've
Yeah.
short sighted themselves and they've just got an impossible chip shot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny. I've not played competitively for 3 years, and I played an event last year, and it was a course that I knew pretty well. So I've gone to play it. It's like 20-mile-an-hour winds, and I just played really percentage golf, like winds out the right, give yourself plenty, just hit the greens. So you know what it's like. You hit a couple of greens, and then all of a sudden the wind takes it a bit more than you think, and it goes to 6 feet. And you hole it, and it looks like a good shot, but you're actually aiming 20 feet right at that pin.
Yep.
And anyway, I shot 4 under, won it by 3. First
Yeah.
tournament I'd played for 3 years. And I remember my playing partners, they just said to me, it actually looked quite a boring round of golf. And I went,
Yeah.
what do you mean? He went, well, you were just in play, on the green, 2 putt, in play, on the green, hole the putt. And I'm like, that's
Yeah.
where all the best rounds happen.
Correct. And
That's,
I mean, I know times I've played with people that have had, 6, 8, 9 under or whatnot.
yeah,
They don't look like they're stressed. They just look like they've got their ball flight
absolutely.
under control, and they're just being smart. Do you remember Stephen Leaney?
Yeah, good player.
Yeah. So I remember when I caddied for Ewan Porter, we're going back sort of 13, 14 years ago. I remember watching him, and he just felt like he was just playing darts. It was like, right, my ball's here and I just got to ping it there. He's just looking at his yardage book, and he's just like, oh, I'm just going to go here to here, here to here, here to here. And he just made it look so stress free.
I always used to
That
think
kind
that
of,
of John Senden.
yes.
I
Yep.
played
Yep.
Senden in the World Match Play one year, and there's
Yeah.
me like, oh, what have we got to do? And he was just like, there, on, there. And it just looked stress free. And that's a
Yeah.
word that I use with a lot of players. I went, the better you can play stress free golf, the better you're going to do. And it might look
Yeah.
boring, and you want to hit that big, high, towering 4 iron to 3 feet. I went, but that's not the golf that's going to win your tournaments. It's going to be boring
Yeah.
golf. Driver, just plod it down the middle, 7 iron, give yourself 15, 20 foot. Oh, I've made it. That was stress
Yeah.
free. There's your birdie.
Yeah.
Everything doesn't
Yeah.
have to look spectacular.
Did you, with your years on tour, did you see anything difference between the guys that just make up the numbers versus the ones that are like, winning week in, week out? Like you've played, for the last say 20 years with some of the best players in the world. What did you see different in those guys to the ones that, missing cuts or, not keeping cards?
I say this to a lot of my players. Your good is good enough, but your bad is not even close enough. And that
Yeah.
is what the best players do. Their bad day is a 71, 72 because they just
Mm-hmm.
know that the bad shot is not demoralizing, and they know that they can, get it up and down. Like you say, they're missing the right spot. So a top player might miss on the right and a poor player might miss on the left. Left's dead, right's easy.
Yep.
And that's what I always say. You need to get your bad better because you can. Every good player can hit an 8 iron to 2 or 3 feet every now and again.
Yep.
But it's when you don't get that 8 iron and you miss the green, where are you missing? Whereas they're
Yeah.
not. Their bad is way better than everyone else's.
Yeah, you're right. And it's funny because even the best players, at the level that I'd played at and whatnot, they always managed to have a 72 or a 73,
Always,
even if they just couldn't keep it on the planet.
always.
Did you ever get to play with Tiger at all?
I didn't, unfortunately. I was very close in Dubai one year. He going into the last day, he was just above me. I was under him on the board. And then I remember Bradley Dredge, a Welsh golfer, birdied the last to knock me down. So I didn't get a chance to play with him, but
Yeah.
his aura, I remember hitting balls on the range and I knew he was behind me without even turning round. It's
Yeah.
weird. It's a weird feeling, but
I, I, I remember the first time I seen him in person was at the Australian Masters at Victoria Golf Club probably 12 years ago. And I had the bag over my shoulder and I walked to the putting green. I sat it down. I saw him and I just went, I was like a 5-year-old. I was like, oh, that's Tiger. Like
yeah.
I couldn't, I was a bit shocked to start with. And you sort of, once you've been over that, I guess you get used to it. But look, Live Tour. What are your thoughts? I haven't really asked many people, but I know there's a few pommies and whatnot playing it. Is it buzzing over where you are or not?
I mean, it's quite split. I feel like it's weighed more to the negative side of it.
Yeah.
I've been to a couple of events. I went to
Yeah.
my mate caddies for Hal Varner the third. So
Yeah.
I went to Orlando beginning of this year. to go and watch it because I was doing something in Arizona after it. So he said, "Why don't you come and watch it?" So I went there for the full tournament, and then I went obviously to Centurion down in London. It's very different, but it's right up my street. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Music on the tees, it's
It
just
went
very
crazy in
relaxed.
Australia.
Oh, was it Adelaide, wasn't
It
it?
was yeah, it was nuts. Like
It
I was
looked it.
actually in the US. I was in the US, but if I wasn't over there, I was on holidays. But I really wanted to go, and it just everyone that I know that went just said it was just like it was just like a party for 3 days straight.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. I mean, personally, I don't have a problem with it. I understand the politics and stuff like that to do with the money side of it and where it's coming from and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's another golf tour. It's a
Yeah.
shame. I mean, they're really struggling with the world ranking points as well, and it's just a shame
Mm.
that the majors are going to be the tournaments that get affected by that because you're not going to have your Cam
Yeah.
Smith playing. I mean, he will because he won the Open, but just an example,
Yeah.
your DJs, if you Patrick Reed's, you can think what you want about Patrick Reed. Is a hell of a competitor and a hell of a golfer, and you want to see
Yeah.
those
Correct.
guys against everyone else in the world, and
Yeah.
that's the. I hope it gets fixed, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of negativity towards it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree. Now, last question, right? I'm obsessed with the Masters. How was it? You played it twice, am I right?
Played,
Twice?
yeah, 2010, 2012.
What was it like?
It was all right. No, I'm just kidding. It was
Oh, come on.
absolutely.
Actually, I was there in 2012.
Were you?
I was.
It was phenomenal. I mean, first time, it's like most things, your first time, you never forget them. Driving down Magnolia, flipping it. I mean,
Yeah.
I was just like, and I remember when I knew I was in it, I won the Dunhill in 2009 at St Andrews, and I knew that I'd get me in the top 50. It got me in top 30 actually, but I knew I couldn't drop out of top 50. And I was like,
Yep.
oh my God. And then it comes through the invite, you open it up, and you're just like, wow. And I always remember my
Yeah.
dad. My dad used to hate flying, didn't like flying at
Mm.
all. And he used to say to me, if you ever get in the Masters, I'll get on a plane and I'll come and see you.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
remember getting the invite and I just said, get your flights booked. And he was like, yeah, yeah. He was like, bit. And I just looked at him. I went, if you don't come to watch me at the Masters, I went, one, I'll be really disappointed in you because you promised it. And I said, two, you'll never be able to live with yourself again, Dad. I said, because it will be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Anyway, he came. There was about 20 of us went, and we had two
Yeah.
houses. And even my mates to this day say that's the best trip they've ever been on because you grow up watching the Masters. You see, like, Amen Corner, the 12th, the 13th, and you're like, and then all of a sudden, I'm stood in the middle of the fairway on 13 going, I can't believe I'm here. Playing a practice round
Yeah.
with Sergio Garcia and Luke Donald, and you're just like, yeah, phenomenal, phenomenal.
It is. It is a crazy good play. Like my wife has never played 18 holes, but she's been to the Masters 4 times, and I, I, I love the place and the spectators, or they're not called spectators there, right? They're called patrons, but
Patrons,
everyone is in a good mood. Everyone is
everyone.
happy. Like, and you know what? No phones are allowed in, and everyone's just interacting with each other. It's such a cool tournament. I got to get back there one day, but
Do you know what I love about it
mate,
as well? It's you can buy chairs, you can buy your chair wherever you put
yes,
that on the course. That is your
yep,
spot. So if you want to go to
yep,
16 and you go and leg it 16, and you put your chair there, and then you leave it for 5 hours and come back, your
yep,
chair will still be there. That's what I love about
yep,
it as well. Nothing's overpriced. You can get a beer and a
yeah.
burger for like $6. Whereas
Yeah,
you
it's
go to
unreal.
you go to the Open at St Andrews, a beer's 12
Mm.
quid and a burger's 15 quid, and you're just like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Whereas they look after the patrons massively there,
they do it so well. Like,
so well.
everything, like you're saying, everything's affordable. I've never seen a better run like toilet system in the world. You go for a pee
Yeah,
and it's like they had marshals in the toilets and they're knocking on the door saying, "Hey, you're taking too long, get out." It was phenomenal, mate.
yeah,
Look, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, taking some time. Now, you've started a podcast, I believe, with Alex Clapp. Is that right?
yeah, that's
Do you want
right.
to do
Yeah,
you want to give it a bit of a free plug now?
yeah, please, yeah. So I mean, we had a few issues with the name. because it's not it's not about golf. It's about gaining that extra percent. So we were going to call it the 1% club, but there's already one called
Yep.
the 1% club. So we're calling it breaking boundaries. So we're
Yep.
talking to people who have achieved high success in whatever it may be, just how they got there, what they did, what the
Yeah.
mentality was like, what they, what that extra 1% looked like to them. So we've done Nicky Butt, who used to play for Man United.
Yep.
He's going to be our first one, but we've done like the world poker champion. We've done Olympic swimmer. We've done the
Yeah, that's awesome.
Rooney's, Ronaldo's nutritionalist and things like that, talking about him. And it's brand new. We've not released our first one yet. We're trying to get a dozen under our belt before we release it, but I'm learning from
Yeah.
it as well. Like I'm talking to the
Yeah.
swimmer and about his mindset and his highs and lows and how he reacts to,
Yeah.
something poor. It's brilliant, and fair play to you for starting this one up in COVID, because podcasts are so popular, and if you can get the right niche, and which you obviously are, that performance side of golf and getting better,
Yeah.
your students and people are only going to learn from it. So, and
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to bring.
It becomes quite addictive. And I've sort of felt like, look, put it this way: if Brent Dale sent Simon Dyson a message on Instagram and said, "Hey pal, I want to jump on the phone and talk to you for half hour," you'd be like, "All right, mate, get lost." But it's opened the doors to me getting access to some of the people that I've had chats with. Are just like, I had Boyd Summerhays on. Do you know
Yeah,
Boyd?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
yeah, like he was phenomenal. I didn't do a podcast after him for about 3 or 6 months because I was like, I can't do better than that. Like his podcast was just so insightful, and he's a great
yeah,
human. And they're very rewarding, and you'll become quite addicted to them. Like
yeah.
I can't wait. Like I just do it. Like my wife's like, "You doing another podcast?" She said tonight, and I'm like, "Yeah." It's just I had Mark Sweeney from Aimpoint on
Yes,
last Wednesday, and he was good. So that gets released this week, and then yours will be
mega,
released the week after. But
mega.
all right, mate. I appreciate you coming on, and
No problem. Enjoyed it.
I'll pop all your details in the show notes so people can start following your podcast as well.
Yeah, sweet. Thank you. Let me know when you want me to come over to Oz. Always,
Yeah,
always. I don't always come over there.
I'll see if I can get your room at the Coogee Bay Hotel, and we'll do a golf score together.
Absolutely. Just tell me where and when.
All right, thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah.